59.
You want to play something for us? Or are you busy?
I just know how to play like chopsticks and stuff. Why don't you play something for us? So I heard that in Texas, the ice cream truck song is different than what you played.
Then, sure. It's probably different in every state. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that didn't surprise me, but it kind of surprised me.
Who told you that?
Gloria.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But how did you know the da 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 da?
How do I know that song?
How did you know that was the ice cream song?
I didn't.
Oh.
You told me.
Oh.
Yeah, I had no idea because in Canada it's different.
Oh, I see, I see. It's 10, it's 10. Okay.
Please.
Hi everyone, how are you doing? Let me get my phone ready. Thank you for tuning in. Good evening, Dorothy. Thank you for staying up to watch our 15-20 minutes of our 10 p.m. live broadcast. Thank you so much. And thank you, Esther, for joining in. How are you? It's Thursday. It's really starting to feel like Groundhog Day. I finally saw that movie. I did not see it before. And I finally saw it, and we realized...
And you never knew what Groundhog Day meant, right?
Well, I think I kind of figured.
Right, but your coworkers were using that phrase all the time. Mm-hmm. It's a phrase that you heard, but you just never knew really what it referred to.
Yeah, but now I get it, but nothing was surprising. Yeah.
The movie's not as good as how I remembered it.
Yeah, because I think time has passed, and I think movies are a lot faster now.
Yeah, the pacing is different.
The pace, yeah. So today is a very special day for us because
this is the 1 month anniversary of our 10 p.m. live stream.
Yeah.
We started exactly a month ago.
Yep, exactly a month ago on the 16th of March. Today is April 16th. We started the day after we had our first live stream church service. And I remember that day. I will remember it forever. It's March 15th, 315. That was going to be our first preview service, but that never happened. And we did a live stream, and we were like, hey, this works. And we like it. We enjoy doing this. Why don't we do this every night at our house? And we're like, yeah, sounds like a great idea. So we started doing it on the 16th, the day after. And we've been doing it every day ever since. And hopefully we'll continue to do it for a long, long time until things do normalize. Thank you, Miri. Yes, happy 1 month. That reminds me, I'm just going to start off with something silly. Do you remember what you got for me on our 1 month anniversary of dating?
I don't know why you put me on the spot like this. Did I get you a necklace? It was, maybe a necklace?
Yeah.
A crystal something?
Yeah, it was a necklace. It was a big deal for Isaac. I was his very first girlfriend at age 31.
Something like that.
32,
31, yeah.
And he was, wow, like one...
I mean, look at her and look at me. Wouldn't you be wow?
Team Canada, that's what you're wearing today. So we dated for 1 month, and I think he was like, I've done it for 1 month. Now,
what do I have to do to keep her?
So he got me a necklace, and shortly after he found out that I don't do accessories. But he took that day seriously. He took me out to a buffet restaurant in Pundang, Korea, which is amazing because I love food. I love buffets. All you can eats are my favorite. So I went down that memory lane as I was preparing for this 1 month speech. But yeah, look at us. Now we're here. We've been married for almost 10 years today. And that's this year. We're going to celebrate our 10th year anniversary. Time flies. Time flies. So anyway, I'm going to keep it short right now. And thanks, Miri. And Miri, did you get your furniture, by the way? I noticed that you stopped watching us for a couple of days. I think it's maybe because she got her furniture. So she's like on her couch, on her bed, or maybe she was busy arranging stuff. But anyway, you can answer us later. But I'm going to have Isaac just go right into the word. And I'm going to talk about the song that we'll be singing tonight. So it's all you.
So, we talk about the topics that we want to cover, and we have a list. And the topic that we wanted to cover today was on realigning ourselves with God. And I think, again, this is a good time. This COVID quarantine is a good time for a lot of things. And I hope that we're making use of that time. We talked about resting. We talked about just finding peace and forgiveness and all of that. But realigning ourselves with God seems to be a really good way to spend this time. And so, the verse that I want to base my comments on is Romans 12:3, where it says, "Do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, and then you'll be able to test and approve what God's good, pleasing, and perfect will is." And so, that's a pretty well-known verse. If you've gone to church, you've probably heard that verse. But what does that mean? Do not be conformed to the pattern of this world. Well, basically, Paul is saying that this world has a certain pattern. There's a certain system that this world has that is designed to make you think and make you act a certain way. And that's the way that the world has always been. From the very beginning of history, there are certain systems in place that form and shape your values, your worldview, your idea of the universe and your place in it. And God is saying, be aware of this pattern and resist it. Understand that this is not God's will. That's not God's pattern. It's a corruption of God's pattern because we are living in a corrupted and fallen world. And so be aware that it exists, and be aware that the default is to be conformed to that pattern. So just think of it like this. The world is like an assembly line. It's like a factory, right? And we're all just going through it, and we get molded, and we get shaped, and we get stamped, and all of that by the processes of the world. And if we just go with the flow, and if we don't resist in any way, then when we come out of that assembly line, we are exactly what the world wants to produce. Worldly people who think worldly things. And what Paul and what God is saying through Paul in Romans 12:3 is, don't just go along with it. Don't just go with the flow, but understand that there is a different will. There is a better will. That's God's will. The uncorrupted, pure truth of God. And in fact, that verse says God's will is good, pleasing, and perfect. Good, pleasing, and perfect. We talked about God being good yesterday. Everything that God does is good. Everything that God does is pleasing, and everything God does is perfect. So that's the will that we need to conform to. So just to wrap up, what are some of the patterns of this world? It's going to be different depending on what time era, what generation, even the part of the world geographically that you live in. But for us here in 21st century America, there are many things. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is the American dream. And that has been, as part of this culture, American culture, for a long time. A lot of the reason that people come to this country is to pursue the American dream. And so, the American dream is not all bad, but it has elements that I would say are definitely unbiblical. The American dream, if you buy into it completely, tells you that your purpose in life is to get a good job, is to get a nice big house with a white picket fence, beautiful wife, 2.5 kids, 3.
2.5 kids.
It's because the average family size in America is like 2.5 kids. That's what, when you buy into that, you start to believe that is your entire purpose in life. That is all that life is about, and you just pursue that dream. But brothers and sisters, that is not why we're created. God did not create us to pursue a house with a white picket fence and all of those things. We're not created for just a job. We're created for mission. We're created for God's kingdom. We're created to be light and salt in the earth and to bring glory to his name. That's why we're created. And so, that's the kind of pattern. That's one example of a pattern that we are not to conform to, But we have to realize, okay, that is not exactly biblical. And so what is the biblical pattern? And be transformed to that. Another example, just real quick, is sexual ethics. And so from the beginning of the Bible, God has constantly been challenging the sexual ethics of the world. Whether it's, polygamy, whether it's divorce, whether it's premarital sex, whether, these days there's all sorts of other issues regarding sexuality. And God is saying, don't just conform to that. Don't go with the flow. But God has a higher standard of purity and holiness and true love. And that's what we need to be transformed into. And so, I just want to encourage all of you, spend this time to examine your heart, look at the scriptures, and see what it is that you need to be realigned to. And I believe that part of what God is doing in this season is not just realigning individuals, but the church as well. Mm-hmm. Because, now is a time when churches have to kind of look at themselves and ask, have we been doing things right? Like the way that worship has been happening, the way that we've been preaching, the way that we've been discipling people. Yeah. Have we been discipling people the right way? I think there's many, many things that God is forcing churches to re-examine and realign so that we do things His way. And ultimately, I think there'll be great fruit and great blessing that comes out of this.
That's right.
Yeah.
Great analogy about the factory. That led me to think how sometimes you are just mass-produced in a factory without knowing that you are conforming with the patterns of the world. And I think a lot of people, our viewers, our listeners, our friends, they don't know that they are being conformed to the patterns of the world. They are just being told, and our message, most of our message, our evening messages, we're calling out the leaders, the pastors, right? Because sometimes the sheep is misled by, misguided by the church, and leaders, and that includes us. So I think we have to be responsible. The leaders of the church have to be responsible to teach the right teaching, because some people, they don't even know, right? They don't even know that, what the church is telling me to do, because they just believe that everything that the church tells them to do is the right thing. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to call that out as well. And that, with that, we're going to go on to the song that we're singing. It's a really beautiful song. I don't know why we weren't introduced to this earlier on, but it's called Lead Us Back. And these words are awesome, but they're also very hard to sing, not in terms of like the vocabulary, but it's really a song of asking for God to purify us. And this is where we really call out the leaders. And I'm just going to highlight some of the words, the lyrics that I like. And one of them is, we have shunned the weak and poor, worship beauty and courted kings. It goes on to say, prayed for those we'd like to know. I'm guilty. I'm just calling out the verses that I'm guilty of. Pray for those we'd like to know. Favor sings a siren tune. I remember someone saying, as we're planting our church, someone in our core group saying that I wish our new church would be filled with outcasts. And when I heard that, I was a little scared, because I was like, oh gosh, people not like me or people who are in my circle are really difficult to minister to. But then immediately I knew that is God's heart. If you look at the people that Jesus roamed this earth with, they are all sorts of people that people hated, and people despised, neglected. And it brought me back to, that's the kind of church that we need to build. And I'm guilty of praying for those that I like, that I get along with, those who are likable. Another one, God has caused the blind to see. We have blinded them again. Wow. That's a hard one. Mm-hmm. And that's, again, guilty. We're guilty. Mm-hmm. Okay, they see the truth and they're like, I'm so excited for Jesus. And they come to us and we're like, okay, well, let's take it easy, or whatever excuse you may give them. We, so often, church leaders, we don't show our sheep the truth, right? Sometimes we slow their progress, or we blind them again. So I'm guilty. There's so many other words that it might be difficult for you to sing. It's right there in the comments, but this is our heart right now, and this is our plea for God. Lead us back. So with that, why don't you worship with us? So thank you for taking over. But churches, we have become a talent show, or we had become a talent show. We were a part of that talent show. Mm-hmm. God doesn't desire a talent show. He wants true worship that is done, that is given, offered in spirit and in truth. So what is that? What does that mean? I don't know. We don't know. We really don't know. But we're confessing before our friends right now. This is not the way we want to build our church. So let's just think about this thought right now. Let's look at these words and just ask God, lead us back, take us back, Lord, because we don't even know how to get there. So let's let that be our prayer tonight. Again, this was called to our church leaders, our peers, our friends. Thank you so much for listening. We're just as broken. So we're not in any way saying that we're so much better. We're the most broken people in the whole world. That's an overstatement. Maybe that's city. Have a great night. Thank you so much for watching and viewing. And yes, clicking like, love. I love it. It's so fun. Bye.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.